There it is.
I still don't have it. Yep, now we're good.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anytime you're ready.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to Recorder on the Wall, where we are going through every single Redwell book ever, and we went through the original story like 15 times because there's like 8 different interpretations of it. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matthias, and we still got Pete locked out the gate.
I'm Katie, and I think, did I sleep through episode 2? Taking a nap in the gatehouse, that bed is comfortable.
I mean, yes, that's why we have you in the hard dormitory beds. They're much harder to fall asleep on.
That's true.
I feel like the phrase, did I sleep through episode 2, mostly applies to when you're watching the Star Wars prequels.
Nice.
But, so anyway, we're back today, and yep, Pete's still locked outside. We made sure to lock that side gate.
Oh no, I am?
Uh-oh.
I didn't know. I was sleeping.
Oh no, Katie, you're blameless on this.
I
These
mean,
other two are going
Pete,
to...
it's so good to see you back again. Oh, man. Hopefully that gate was easy to open. I mean, I only wedged it shut with like 13 chairs and...
I went around the front door and knocked politely and they let me in.
No!
Now, as for you two, after we're done recording here, you're going to scrub everything.
Yes, Father Rabbit.
That's better. Speaking of the Abbey and it's under siege, and oh yeah, these guys. Well, I'm sure in book 3 of Eulalia is not. Of course, Redwall's gonna be safe, right? And there's not gonna be possible vermin ever get inside.
Nope, they don't.
No, they really don't in this case.
They leave.
No. They pull a long patrol, and basically the forces I send out engage them away from the Abbey.
Yep.
That's what I was gonna say. Get out of my head.
They get distracted by shiny objects.
Right.
And by shiny objects, I mean badgers.
Yeah.
Or someone laid a line of candy from the vermin, and the vermin just
Ooh,
falls
an egg.
back.
Ooh, an egg. Ooh, an egg.
Cadbury cream eggs.
Ooh.
So when we left off last time, our tabura, yeah, I want to speak to that in just a moment. It said, "Okay, my ward, who I'm totally going to trust to this other same age male badger, go have fun killing the vermin." Okay.
Yeah, this was odd.
Yeah, and then I didn't get a chance to address it last time because we were introduced to a concept called a tabura that apparently has. Is now just now getting introduced with 4 books to the end of the series, and while we see evidence of it earlier, if we go back to say Rossano the Wise, yeah, this is something we could have been dealing with in the future. If you've not read this book and you're just joining us for the first time, so
listen to the last episode.
Yeah. Context is important.
One of the things Brian has dealt with in the entire franchise since Mossflower, which was the second book published, is this concept of blood wrath. Now, while it's not limited to badgers, it tends to be badgers. It tends to reside most often within badgers. And all it is it's basically blood rage. It's berserker rage when you see your hated enemy and you'll literally go through 1,000 people ahead of him just to get a crack at them. And while we've seen different interpretations of it, where Sunflash would always lose himself into it but feel terrible about it, Ron Blade really enjoyed it and taken a big old nap afterwards. And Krega was freaking Krega.
Krega was just always in blood wrath mode.
At least in her younger self, anyway.
That's my secret. I'm always angry.
I pictured Krega punching a giant monster.
She'd do it too.
She would. She'd throw her weapon away and then punch it.
Exactly.
Puny great rat.
What we haven't really done in let me correct that. what Brian is establishing this time is that there's an other side, the Blood Wrath, what he's calling the Tabura, and it's more of a title, anything else. And but it's essentially the opposite of Blood Wrath. Whereas instead of getting all nice and angry while you take on your foe, it's, and I have no idea why I did that accent.
I was gonna say Southern Blood Wrath. I'm feeling a little anger right now.
It's
I ain't gonna touch that one.
Yeah, it's not. Instead of getting all nice and angry while you're going after your foe, you have mental discipline out the wazoo and a general peaceful attitude. So, persona of the wise, in a sense. And more as an adult, because I've read the series and a couple of my other panelists here are also fans of it. What my brain ran to while reading this is essentially the concept of Hellfire and Soulfire, respectively, from the Dresden Files. If you've never read those books, they're basically Harry Potter, only a lot more fun, and their writer is a lot less terrible of a person.
That's a win.
Yes. And basically, if you at one point the main character is basically working minorly with a demon, and his spells get supercharged by what is Hellfire, which is exactly as it sounds. It's basically a demonic fire, and it makes it more destructive and harder to control. Later on, when that demonic possession no longer counts, he gets access to the angelic version, Soulfire, which instead of just making it goes in the opposite direction, where instead of making your emotions go run wild and your magic hard to control, it's more disciplined, more direct in its action and purpose. That's kind of how I read this. That being said, the Tobura, this massive amount of wisdom here, does not mean you don't like a fight, because the Badger lady we see, who is an aspiring Tobura, is perfectly capable of defending herself. The only difference is that she's not aggressive of this, oh hi, other age male Badger, who my guardian is totally not setting me up with. Okay.
Yeah. I think like this whole like fate and destiny thing was a little weird. Like, here, kid who I've been raising, go off with this dude. And she's like, okay, because fate said so.
Well, badgers go off a lot of fate in this series, though. Like, Boar saw his fate and took care of that. Usually, you know what? I'm actually better with this one, is usually Badger fate is I get killed.
Right.
So, like, Boar, Earthstripe. So it's like, at least we have a happy fate for these two, instead of I'm going to go get my face hacked open.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of agree with Pete, though, that this Tabora thing just kind of came out of nowhere. And by this point in the series, when I first read it, I was like, oh, yay, another special Badger. Oh boy, we have not had any of these.
Yeah. Oh no, we Matthias and I did talk about it later on in the episode last time. Okay. Yeah, so like I had commented saying that I think it's a neat idea of having like the wise Badger rather than just our warlike Badgers. But I think it would have had more impact if we had actually seen it prior in the series. Like, even if it was like once or twice, I think it could have had more impact on it.
Also, I have a question. Any of the advice that the Tabura gave the Abbey dwellers, wasn't it something that they had already figured out? Like he said, my advice is to, dramatic pause, let the vermin finish each other off. I could picture Formal thinking, that's kind of what I said before, but okay.
Well, yeah, he did say that, which I immediately like threw a wrench in that and went, yeah, but Curdley's forces horrifically outnumber Visca's, so if they did, that he'd still be here, and vice versa. Either way, you're still like, there's no way they're going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, I just felt like he didn't give any particularly stunning bits of insight that I can hold on to and say, oh, he's this wise Badger who had this tremendously wise thing that nobody else thought of. I just didn't see that. It was a little
I'm wise. Okay, yes, thank you, and you're eating our food.
Did you know that the sun is hot? Yes, Tabura, we know the sun is hot. Well, it is!
I mean, for what it's worth, wisdom and knowledge are sometimes blended together in pop culture. Wisdom is the application of knowledge along with a course of action. And it says, this is either the bad way to go or this is the better way to go, depending on how you use it. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to have a character with wisdom be like, oh, here's some grand revelation that you didn't know before. They might say the same thing that you already know because, well, they weren't there for that conversation. But at the same time, that then reinforces the previous conversation as, yeah, that's actually really good, solid advice. You should do that.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. And like if I ask several people for advice and they all tell me the same thing, I'm more inclined to follow their advice. So I guess that is a good point. I don't know. I expected more from. Also, I was very upset by the editing mistake that you guys probably talk about at length on the last episode, where he's like, "Yeah, the healer was totally murdered." I'm like, but.
Yep. Yeah, we did. Yeah, where it said that she was knocked out, and then it was like, no, she's dead, and then they just never mention her again for the rest of the book.
And the abbot even said she will recover, thank goodness. And then,
Exactly.
never mind, she's dead.
Yeah. She died of off-screenitis.
Yeah,
Oh, the most deadly of diseases.
Yeah.
Actually,
Right.
no, it's the second most deadly. The most deadly is not a protagonistitis.
all the shrews.
Oh, God. AKA most of the Gaussum in Matameo.
Yeah, how many died? Oh, one or shrew.
Oh,
Oh, no, sir.
how many
no.
are left? Just a shrew. All right, so on to book 3, The Battle of the Plateau, which this is a very short section of the book.
It's not as short as like book 3 of Redwall, book 3 Mossflower,
Mhm.
or even book 3 What Did We Even Do? Legend of Luke. But
still, it's only like 80 pages.
10 chapters.
Yeah,
And an epilogue.
this book has like honestly the strangest split out of ones for a while. Like it's a little bit closer to what like the original Redwall was, where like the first part was not super short, but it was a little shorter. The second part was huge, and the third part's kind of short. Like with
Like
Legend of
this.
Luke, it at least made sense because the middle section was kind of the reason you were reading the book in the first place.
Right.
But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting because on the last few books we've been reading, each section has been pretty even. Like it's been a while since we've had like this weird, awkward split.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. There's an even weirder book coming up. It has
Is it
4
Sable Queen?
books.
Yes.
Yeah, Stable Queen, right?
Mhm.
You lie!
That should be interesting. So wait, is that book? We'll get to it later. I was gonna say it's gonna be 4 episodes or 3, but anyway. So
It'll be
chapter
4.
31. I actually read this like an hour after we recorded the last episode because, well, they cut off in book 2 the last time. No pun intended. We cut off. Swear to God, no pun intended. We cut off with Visca swinging the sword at our trio of heroes' necks, and I was
Yep.
like, he's cutting the ropes, right? He's cutting the ropes, right? And so I was like, okay, I need to read this. So I pulled up chapter 31, and my immediate note was, phew, he did cut the ropes.
Yep. Oh, and speaking of which, for chapter 31, the chapter art, you see Vizca swinging the sword. Just the positioning of his body and the way he's holding the sword, does that remind anyone else of like a Disney film villain?
Pinocchio. What was the fox's name?
Oh man, what was his name?
Unimportant.
I don't remember.
Is that
It's
the
been
one
a
you were
while.
referencing with Ice?
No, not anything in particular. Just the pose
Oh.
very much reminded me
Yeah.
of something I've seen from Disney.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, look a little bit more, little cartoonish
Mhm.
on it. And is that like a hat or a crown? I can't remember if they actually described him wearing wearing a hat, because he has that in like a later chapter art too.
Could be a toupee.
Just
saying.
Long tooth, short hair.
The part of Visco will now be played by William Shatner.
Viscous, not only the president of the fur club for foxes, he's a member too.
Oh.
Sorry, you said Shatner. All I could think of was, well, me buckos, we're off to conquer the Abbey after killing the Stripe Hounds.
So, yeah, Visca. I love the fact that he does, chops through their bonds and everything, and he obviously has the upper hand. And Mahdi and Rangval just keep throwing jabs at him, and it's awesome.
But at the same time, Mahdi, maybe don't antagonize the villain with the super sword. Just saying.
Yes.
I love these two.
Don't call anybody else a Snigglety Woofler.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the naughtiest thing Brian's ever put in as an insult.
Probably shouldn't even say it on the podcast. Sorry. Might have to bleep that.
I do love it though, because when Visca's like, I'm gonna haul you back to Redwall, and if they don't let us in, and Mahdi immediately interrupts, wait, don't tell me. You'll stamp your paws a lot and never speak to them again, right?
Hi.
And Visca's like, no, my plan is
My plan is far more villainous, so villainous that you can possibly understand.
Hey, guys, what do we do with the Red Wallers don't do it? Maybe you should cook them alive, sir. That's barbaric. You're getting a raise.
Pretty much. And so they leave a couple of guards for them, and a surly-looking weasel is angry and hits Mahdi in the back with a spear, and my immediate response was, oh, that weasel is going to get knocked the hom out.
Yup.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bella's going to go by on her motorcycle. Did anyone else hear that?
No.
Apparently.
That was somebody drove by with a really loud engine on my side.
Hi, Bella.
Who let her out of the dark forest again?
Yeah.
Probably gone.
Yeah. So then we go back to Gorath, and is it pronounced Salixa?
Salixa.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yay! I can pronounce things. Yay
So,
for me.
did her unknown parents pick that name, or did the Tabura pick that name?
The Tabura, I think, gave her that name. It was covered
Yes.
in her backstory.
Yep. And when they see, then there's a line in here. This book has some weird editing issues. Because it says, when they see that the vermin are following them, she says, Gorath, are you going to take the blood wrath?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have it in my pocket right here.
Yeah, he pulls out is it like Popeye's spinach? It's like da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh.
Take 20
now.
cc's of blood wrath and call me in the morning.
So, yep. I don't know. There's some weird. This book. I don't have I actually really enjoy this book. I don't have a lot of complaints, but I do have to point out the random errors and stuff, because they just stand out, because normally we don't get that in these books.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll see a little thing here and there, but this one, it seems to be running rampant. But then, so the two of them start defending themselves, and they didn't really make it clear that Salixa can fight before literally right the second, outside of the book 3 art, where it shows her swinging a sling around.
Mhm.
But I mean, maybe they didn't need to, because I don't think we've ever had a badger that wasn't willing to throw down
Yeah.
At least the ones that are physically able. Though even Krega, as old as she was in Tagarung, was still standing up and like, "You better get the heck away from Redwall. You're gonna have to deal with me."
Yeah, and even the Tabura did kill all the vermin that enslaved Silixa. So
Yep. Like, I think the only Badger we've ever had that never actually fought was Bella. And I'm pretty sure if push came to shove, she would have been pushing and shoving Sarmina's minions off a cliff.
Well,
probably.
maybe not fight directly, but she sure as heck was leading the literal resistance. So
Yeah, no, well, I'm pointing out specifically
ah,
action, like actually fighting and stuff. Like,
We don't see Rosano fight at all, but he does say, if you had killed any of the Redwallers, I would have obliterated you from the face of the earth.
yeah, we would not be having this conversation right now.
Yes.
You and your head would be separated by a great distance.
Yeah.
I would have relieved you of the burden of thought.
Relieved you of the burden of life.
Yes.
Yeah, your free trial of life has expired.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the only one I can really think of. Like Rusano, we know he could throw down. With Bella, the closest we got was that one moment where she threatened Sarmina in the middle of the forest and then disappeared like Batman. Granted, we did see, and we know Bella was physically capable as she charged through like the entirety of Mossflower to go get Abbess Germain and then ran all the way back carrying her.
Right.
So,
I just wonder if Jake's, like, he threw this line in, like, sort of, she immediately proved she was no helpless maid. So I'm wondering if he was expecting a little bit of criticism for Silixa just because she's so quiet and gentle and calm. And I personally don't see a problem with any character, male or female, being quiet and gentle and calm. But I think maybe there's a little bit of more criticism if it's a female. So maybe that's why he put that in there. Like, it didn't bother me. Like, I like Silixa as a character. So
yeah, I think it was more just like I said, because like in book 2, she's just sort of, they kind of prop her up as kind of like the counterbalance to Gorath's rage and action and everything. And so I think it just wasn't an obvious conclusion that she did know how to fight in like a traditional sense. But, well, she can definitely lob rocks into people's heads, so there you go.
yeah.
I mean, the other way you can look at it is, hey, this peaceful guy who got really, really angry this one time basically raised me. He's not known for fighting, so you might assume I don't know how to fight, but yeah, I can throw down.
Yep.
And who knows? He might have taught her how to sling just for fun, like target practice. They probably didn't study all the time. They probably did fun stuff.
I get the feeling he would have at least taught her basic defense. So
yeah,
that's kind of like Tyria in Hyrule Lane, where she was an expert with the sling, but she never actually fought anybody with it.
Mm-hmm. And I find it interesting. We don't spend too much description time on where they're fighting, but it's up on top of a hill with like rocky outcrops, lots of stones. So it's like they got plenty of free ammunition to chuck down at everyone chasing them.
Yep.
This is true, and it sucks to be Bladge, one of the brown rats, and I think it sucks to be anyone with a DJ at the end of their name in this book, because Kodge, Bladge.
yes.
And so,
And besides,
Gorath throws a boulder. Which I do enjoy whenever the Badgers pick up like some massive heavy object and throw it at people. I should just enjoy that in fiction in general because it's just funny.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's Alexa like, in Gorath, smash.
Pretty much. Gorath, toss. So right now they're just dealing with the brown rats, and Vizga, meanwhile, is like, sounds like something big is going on down there. I'm gonna send a few people to check it out. Here, you three morons, dumb, dumber, and stupid. Watch the prisoners. I'm sure everything will turn out fine. You're already dead, aren't you?
Hey, we resemble that remark.
Pretty much. Just he leaves. Again, we get some more of the wacky names: Ruglat and Undrill, and Salt
Yep.
Ear. So that's a thing.
Yep.
Ruglat was the one who hit Maudie with the spear, and so she beats the living hell out of him because, of course, she, Rangval, and Orkwill break free.
Before that happens,
Mhm.
they're once again tied up with their paws to a branch, so they're just hanging from their paws. And Maudie's trying to engage in conversation, and it's just like, shut up, rabbit. And I couldn't help but compare it to that one Looney Tunes cartoon, Bugs and Thugs, where he ends up wrapped up in the bank heist of a mobster.
Yep.
And this really great bit of comedy. Shut up? Certainly. You don't think I'm the kind that keeps blabbing. Some people never knows when to stop. When I'm told to shut up, I shut up.
It's the one is Bugsy and Mugsy. That's the one you're looking for.
And so we have our trio who are tied to a branch. Break the branch. Rangval, being awesome, takes what remains of it, runs forward, and hits Salt Ear in the head so hard that it snaps his neck.
Well, that's very efficient. Good job.
I'll go out on a limb and say that they got away, leaving the vermin behind. How unexpected.
Wah, wah, wah.
Are you pining for more jokes?
I don't know.
I mean, do you have to ash?
Pete's redwood with rage.
I'm furious right now.
Oh no.
I've been corrupted.
Welcome to the dark side. We have puns.
So, well, we then get the dumbest. I think so. Jungo might be the dumbest one on Vizca's team, but Undrill, I think, has topped him now because Undrill, even though he avoids an attack from Orkwill, draws his cutlass so quickly that he cuts his own pants off and then trips on them and falls over.
I almost wish the heroes were like, hey, sorry, you need a minute? You just want to pull this up and try again? Yes, please.
He's like, can I get another take, please? And then Orkwill just beats him to death. So that happens.
Yes.
And yep.
Oh, and Orkwill doesn't
And
take this
so
very well.
we get Maudie fighting Ruglat, who then turns around and tries to run. Orkwill trips him. He then stumbles over and lands on his own spear and dies.
Yeah, this is
No,
like
he
a
got
Common
the-
Bears.
He got the point.
Oh,
Ah, we're all doing it now. We're all corrupted.
what a sharp observation. How
How inspirational.
you have to include it. Oh, but then we get a good little moment with
I love
Maudie
this.
sitting down with Orkwill because Orkwill's never killed anyone before. And Maudie kind of gives him, similar to like the Long Patrol speech, where it's like, if you hadn't stopped him, then the innocent creatures at Redwall would have been in danger from him.
Yeah, and this is like a gentler side to Maudie that
Mhm.
we don't really see that often. Usually she's like fun and outgoing or fighting people. She's not
Yeah.
like, this gentle sort of older sister type character.
Yep.
Oh, one point I missed earlier where Selexi is asking Gorath if he's coping. Yeah, I'm coping with it by killing them. It's fun!
When I don't have the blood wrath, I remember how I killed him. It's even better.
But our chapter ends with Rangval basically like, well, we're going to disguise ourselves as vermin in their clothes. We're just gonna have to clean some stains and some holes first.
Yeah. Monty's like, don't worry. We killed them, and that's the end of it. Now strip them.
This
And I
would
do
be
like
very
them.
uncomfortable for me, just because their clothes are probably really dirty and smelly, just
Yeah.
judging by the vermin.
I do like them acting like pirates, though, and it's
Oh, yeah.
great. It's like, I'll cut your mainstays and keel wallop your vitals, or whatever it is those seagoing chaps say.
Hey, that's a hurtful stereotype.
And Orkwell, I'm Orkwell, the horrible outlaw. Rot me timbers, mateys.
You know, Mask and Midge Manycoats would be very proud of them.
Yes. Oh, yes. Um,
How do they clean the bloodstains out of their clothes, though?
Smoke bomb.
Yes.
We will never find
Well,
out.
the sea rats don't. I mean, it's pretty clear that all of them just smell to high heaven. And so they sneak around and decide to alert Selixa and Gorath by shouting Eulalia. And you know what? I want that as my car alarm. I want, if someone tries to break in my car, you just hear, Eulalia!
I mean, it would at least freak them out so bad that they'd take a step back, think, maybe I shouldn't.
Yes. um, so they then, as they do that, of course, nobody sees them, and they kind of, mix in with the other pirates who are too stupid to realize that they aren't, pirates, and we get a dumb fake name, Bluegle, which
Yes.
I have a hard time parsing apart the dumb fake names from the normal kind of goofy names.
Yep.
Yeah, well.
And in my notes, I just simply wrote, wow, these vermin are a couple paddles short of a logboat. We'll accept anyone with a verminy name as a member of their crew.
I was going to say, Visca might know that those aren't the names of his people, but then I remembered he knows no one's name, as we find out at the end of the book, so never
This is
mind.
true.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, they go to Jungo, and I mean, Jungo's probably lucky enough to remember his own name.
Just
So-
like candy.
We get another fun phrase from him. Are you erded?
Yes.
Jungo's my boy. I really like Jungo.
Yeah, I like him too.
And so Madi and Rangval are able to get to Gorath and Selixa, but suddenly Orkwell's missing. And I'm sure we'll never see him again for the rest of the book.
Oh yeah, when they were like, "Oh, I hope he's not dead. He's probably totally dead." Only one thing it's like, okay, Jakes, you've done
Yep.
this before.
Where has my pork will gone? Oh, where can he be?
I kind of forgot him about him for a while, frankly.
I mean, I don't blame you, because he's kind of generic at this point.
Yeah.
Waddy and Rangval are way more interesting as characters.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. And to be fair, something a lot more interesting happens in chapter 33 that kind of I'm assuming distracted all of us from that anyway. So.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, we go back to good old Curdley, who, once again, his entire character can be hard boiled down to, I like eggs.
Okay, well, apparently Bella switched her motorcycle for the ice cream truck outside my place, so sorry if you hear that.
I didn't.
No. Great, now I want ice cream. Thanks.
Yeah.
And also, you know what? I'm gonna put this out there now because I have a challenge for our listeners. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that Eulalia has to have the record for the Redwall book where the word egg or eggs appear the most.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I want an official count from the listeners for how many times that shows up. And if you have a way to count it, post it, and let's all add it to the wiki. I want that added to the Eulalia wiki. I want, after the summary and everything, one of those bullet points where in like miscellaneous notes, it just says, the word egg or eggs appears X amount of times.
Yes. You know, and
Essential facts.
doesn't so much have a one-track mind as he has a one-track stomach.
Exactly. Exactly. Ha ha ha. I did it again.
Yeah, that joke was entirely unexpected.
I was going to say it's definitely doesn't have a one-track mind because that would require him to actually be using his brain for anything.
His brain is actually missing. He just has a second stomach there.
I thought you say he just has an unhatched egg sitting in there.
No, he would have eaten it already.
I ate me own brain.
Then how are you talking? I don't know. Oh no, that makes me think of Wizard of Oz. How are you talking then? I don't know. But I suppose there are people with no brains that do an awful lot of talking.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. So yeah. In short, the section with Curly is, I want eggs. Let's go find some eggs. I don't care about Stringle. I like eggs. All right. Moving on to the Gaussum.
Yes.
Speaking of Stringle, he's not having a good day here, where all of a sudden the Gaussum just charge out and start wrecking them.
Yes.
Including one of the best songs in the whole book, the second Blade Chant.
I absolutely love it.
This song is so good that I have not been able to get it out of my head for the past 4 days. I was randomly shelving books at work, and it would just pop into my head, and it's like, great, here it is again. I'm trying to concentrate on where to put this new Clive Cussler book. This isn't helping.
That must be very what's the word? Disconcerting to hear that for the enemy during fight. Just all of a sudden, this blade chant, like this unison, singing in unison, this blade chant, and over the fight is like, oh, what's going on? Uh-oh, am I gonna die? Probably. Oh, yep, I died.
Yeah, I mean, such lines as, "Oh, my blade is thirsting hard, not for ale or water. It will drink the vermin blood brewed amid the slaughter. And vengeance is a blood-red tide. Throw the hell gates open wide."
Yes.
I don't think subtlety is a characteristic of this particular band of Gaussum.
I don't
Or
think
any.
subtlety is ever a characteristic of the Gaussum.
Well, some more than others.
This is true.
Yeah.
We did have that one. He wasn't. It was that one leader shrew in Salamandastron that helped out Sam Kim's group.
Oh yeah, the civilized colony of shrews instead of tribe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so, yep. So the Gaussum run and they start working towards trying to help out Gorath and his group. And I love this where Gorath he's not out of control, but he's swinging his pitchfork around so much that he accidentally clocks Rangval in the back of the head.
Okay.
God.
Hooray,
And,
Dane Bramage!
Yeah, pretty much. I love it. And yeah, so I do like this where Gorath, he's doing okay right now. He's got pink eyes instead of red, which I think that just means he wants some pink lemonade.
I was
Maybe
thinking
just
of like
Melonade.
I was thinking of pink eye, like the actual eye condition.
Oh.
I had that when I was a kid. That was not fun.
Oh, I definitely did too. And one of my classmates is like, "You're blind. You can't get pink eye." I'm like, "I still have eyes. They are purely decorative, but unfortunately, I can still get pink eye because I have eyes. You moron." I didn't say moron. I was too polite, but
That's like saying somebody who's deaf can't get an ear infection.
right.
You know?
I mean, in their defense, we were like 6 or 7. So
Oh yeah. If you're 6, I can.
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected that, upwards of the age of like 8 or 9 from some of the classmates I had.
right.
Mm-hmm. I do like Rangval and Maudie still just kind of having fun during this, and Rangval's like, "Oh, if only me dear old mother could see me now. I know what she'd say." And Maudie's like, "What would she say?" "Here we go again, me son. What have I told you about all this fighting, you rascal?"
Yes. Did you guys discuss last time that Rangval is like a much, much, much better version of Euphis?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mentioned that.
I love Rangval. He's awesome.
Yes. Rangval is.
He's basically halfway between Euphis and Gonf.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how he has, like, his weapon of choice is like multiple knives, and he's great.
Yes.
And
I
so,
do have one question, though.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Gora, Silixa, Maudie, Rangval, the Shrews, they're all stuck up on this giant rocky hilltop.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they're going to be living up there for a while because they're surrounded by vermin on basically all sides. So do you think they should call their new home Rock Hall?
I thought it was going to be a pun off of Plateau, and I would have found that way better. But I can't think of one either, so...
I mean, that certainly would have been the bolder choice. Come on, don't take my puns for granted.
That's stone cold. So, speaking of which, the Gaussum do make their way over, and Osbel does mention, like, somebody points out, "Where's Orkwill?" And Osbel's like, "Well, he's probably dead." But honestly, when you're dealing with an army, missing one ally is not really your top priority.
Right.
And then we get a great moment to close out the chapter where Stringle is like, "Darn it, we'll stop those shrews, like, get ready to charge." And then Visca kind of like basically does the taps him on the back of the shoulder. It's like, "Hi."
Yeah.
Here's a
Why would you charge
preemptive
that?
RIP Stringle because it's obvious he's not going to make it out of the next chapter.
Oh, no.
I do want to point out that the Brown Rhinos, despite their superior numbers, really are having a problem getting through the smaller shrew force. And to quote Game of Thrones, before it got bad, discipline beats numbers. And let's just be honest, there's very few vermin forces we've seen that are a disciplined army. At best, you might be able to say Ungatron, but oops, how many of them deserted?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how the Gaussum have evolved throughout the series. Like when we first meet them in Redwall, I can say this because I randomly decided to start reading Redwall again recently. But in that, they were like always fighting. Like they had all these union rules and stuff, but it didn't seem like they got anything productive done without someone else outside coming in and being like, "Hey, I'm actually trying to do something here. Are you going to help me or not?" And in this one, they argue a lot, but they're still very disciplined. They have their own customs and rules, and it's just I really like how he has developed them throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like how we got a lot more inside look at the workings of the Gaussum in this book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, chapter 33, my favorite chapter. This is my new favorite chapter. Just as soon as I looked at the image for it, which is currently like wading through water, I'm like, please tell me that means something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, and the chapter art makes him look super unattractive. I mean, not that I would find him attractive, like, ever, but particularly repulsive.
Well, I immediately opened my notes because he's like, "If they don't follow me, I'll give them a dose of the curdlies." I'm assuming that just means he's just going to sit on his subordinates because he's too much of a literal egg-sucking fat waste of space to do anything else.
And as I pointed out last episode, there was a point they could have let him fall and drown, and they chose to save their boss.
Yep.
They chose to.
But we'll get a line later in the book that indicates that they really, the bulk of them, don't know how to handle not having orders given to them.
Yeah,
This is true.
I know.
And so just to show that Curly is just a complete idiot, he sees the Tabura up on the wall and thinks it's Gorath, which from all the descriptions they don't look alike at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Curdly's a few eggs short of a dozen, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, they do bring him two what seemingly is rotten eggs, and yeah.
He at least figures out that they are rotten. And then one of the running parts of this entire chapter is Laggle just MSTing everybody. Like, she'd be great on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Well, before she does that, we get our bad guy leader. It's like, these look rotten, and then one of his underlings asks a perfectly reasonable question, and he takes it so badly he breaks both eggs over the guy's head, and he's just broken 2 rotten eggs over this poor the rat's name is Nago's head. Oh,
It's Nago right on the noggin.
I was just about to say that.
Ha!
Yep. And I like how it says Laggle made sure she was out of his reach. Like, she always makes sure that she's safe every time she pokes fun at him or insults him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's tactically smart.
And I do like her comment because he's like, well, I already saw the stripe out. He's up there. And she just goes, well, there might be 3. Have you thought of that?
For the record, and we're going to see shortly why, I started hearing Laggle's voice as Yzma out of Disney's The Emperor's New Groove.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the voice, listeners, that I want you to hear when we talk about Laggle's quotes.
So then they find out that there's a swan's nest.
Golf! Golf! We're going to need you in a minute here.
Yeah, a swan's nest. Sounds boring. Can we go back to that hilltop, please?
Oh, it doesn't get boring. So at this point, I was like tired of Curdly because he felt kind of like a waste of space in this book.
He has a lot of waste. He has a huge waste.
I get it.
I don't want to think about his waste. Ew.
Oh.
Okay, I got the G version of that joke. Come on, man.
So, when I was talking about all the eggshells that he throws around everywhere, what were you thinking about?
Uh-huh.
Moving right along.
So, at this point, I was just like, please tell me Curly gets attacked by a swan. Pretty please. Because I immediately thought back to the chapter art. Was like, wait, he's in waist deep water. There's a swan nest. Oh my god, this could be awesome.
So, and we're told that this guy is like, oh, he's never tasted a swan egg. It's the largest of all birds, and I just want a swan egg, guys. So I'm gonna do the stupid thing and wait out on my loan. I will shout if I need you. Don't send people after me. I can totally handle this on my own.
Yep.
I want all the glory and egg for myself.
Yep.
I just want you to start cooking the giant skillet.
Yep. So then he leaves behind Duggerlow, which was the brown rat that found the nest in the first place, which, thank you, Duggerlow. You also get an awesome line in like 2 minutes. And so Curdly's like, I got this. And so he waddles over and then wades over and tries grabbing the swan nest, overturns it because he's an idiot.
He's also very fat.
Yes.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the swans are angry.
Oh, no. See, here's what happens. He overturns the nest, and the 2 cygnets, which are baby swans, fall into the water, and Mama is right there.
Mama Swan is pissed.
Yes.
And she just assaults him.
Hey,
And
Mom, wait a minute. We want to make popcorn.
she hits him so hard, she fractures his spine and cracks his skull. And then he just falls into the water and dies.
And she hits him 3 times, technically. But...
Yep.
awesome. And I was so happy. My exact notes in all caps were, wahoo! Death by stupidity! Woo! Plays Final Fantasy victory theme.
The one small issue I had with this, and it is a small issue because I really did like this, but he mentions the mother swan. He specifically says it's a mother swan, but then he calls her it throughout the whole thing. Like its beak, its claws, it's whatever. It's like, why are you calling it an it? When you
Yeah.
specifically said she's a mother swan.
Because
I'm going to agree with you, Katie, on this because Brian has repeatedly shown us that birds are fully sentient in this.
It's because Curdley's an idiot.
Right, but I don't think this was from Curdley's perspective. I think it was just like the omniscient narrator telling us what happened.
Oh, I thought you meant Curdley was referring to it.
No, the narration.
I'm going to write it off as because the swan is not sentient, it doesn't get a gendered pronoun.
But aren't they? Because it's like it was smug afterwards, and she said she was smug because swans never laugh aloud. So it's like it gives some character to her.
I mean, have you ever been around a cat that's just like aloof?
Okay, Matthias, but we've never seen any birds who aren't sentient in this franchise. Now, we don't always hear them speak.
Can we focus back on the fact that Curdley is dead because that's the most important part of the
we're going to get to that. I
don't care. How about that? I'm just going to be blunt. I don't care. The swan killed him. Let's move on.
Let us dwell on our nerdy minutia for a second.
Point in the end here is I haven't agreed with Katie, but but where Matthias, I would guess, is going is that we have seen plenty of birds come and go where we don't hear speaking lines from them at all. Much less how many times do we see a bird being eaten by vermin?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will reference back to the end of Book 2, Chapter 30. If you look at the chapter art, the Tabura has a small bird that's seated on his knee, and the thing is like literally the size of his paw. I can't imagine that was a sentient bird. Otherwise, he would have been carrying on a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. In the end here, it's, as Jeremy pointed out, it's irrelevant because Curdley's dead!
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to quote Teen Girl Squad, well, not quote, but reference. Swan! Ow! My eggs!
So yes, Duggerlo basically is watching this, and he watches his boss sink to the bottom of the wetlands, and when he eventually, we're told, he realizes, oh yeah, only a fish could stay underwater that long. Well, crap, who's signing this week's paychecks?
I got the impression from this guy that he wasn't really, I mean, he was kind of shocked, but he wasn't like sad. He was just really excited to go back and tell everyone, like, I witnessed this thing, and you're never going to believe the thing that happened.
And I love this too, where one of the others is like, well, I don't believe the boss is dead, so there. And so the Duggerlo just goes, well, why don't you go over there and swim under the water and ask him?
And here is where my Yzma impression comes in. Now, granted, Lagel does actually make a dirge for their boss, and it's a lot more respectful than I was expecting. I honestly thought this would be like a roast.
I took care of that.
But
it's more respectful than you would expect, but it's still kind of disrespectful.
Yeah.
And then she rips on him immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and here's why I brought up Yzma, because it's essentially, well, he's not getting any better.
So yeah, Lagel composes a dirge relatively quickly too. I had a feeling she was waiting for him to die. It was like, all right, now's my time.
She may not be a seer, but she's been around this guy long enough to know, yeah, the eggs are going to kill him.
Yeah.
Whether through heart disease or through, well, this. But yes.
So I did compose. It's not nearly as long or beautiful as Lagel's dirge, but I did compose one myself. Because I felt like I should pay tribute to this big fat moron. Mm-hmm. Ding dong, Curdley's dead. A swan busted his empty head. He used to eat eggs, now he goes glub glub. I guess he was not curdly enough for the Curdle Club.
Oh.
And you cannot see it, but I'm bowing.
Yay!
So yeah, Nago, who is still smelling rotten eggs, like, we're never gonna get another boss like him. And this is where, well, he's not getting any better.
I love Lago. Just, we'll never have another boss like Grunton. Not if we're lucky, we won't. She then refers to him as Grunton Fat Gut Curdly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. And they're like, oh, Curdly's boss of the fishes now. I wonder what they think of him. And Laggle, just in between laughing, goes, they probably think the boss's taste a tag eggy.
Yes.
I also like the last 4 lines of her dirge. Now against Curdly's wishes, he's feeding the fishes. They're nibbling his ears, snout, and legs. But his ghost at Hellgates, where I'm telling you, mates, just a place where they don't serve boiled eggs.
So yeah, that Laggle and what brown rats are around her are basically like, hey, you know, this wetlands here actually has regular food. It's got shelter. You know what? Okay, hey, someone call a local realtor. I want to move in.
As long
Yeah.
as we don't go near the swans, we'll be okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're very protective of the property, but, you know, once we get in contact with the HOA, I'm sure we can figure out something.
The swans
Yeah.
are like those creepy people that have like the do not trespass, we have a gun signs all over their property.
Right.
So basically, yeah. Then this is a rare happy ending for a segment of Vermin.
Yeah.
Yay! I'm glad that Lago got this because it doesn't happen a lot. Like with my last female villain that I really liked, Romska, she didn't have one. I'm glad that Lago has one.
And yeah, and this is where we don't even see them for the rest of the book. They get a happy ending.
No,
Yay!
they're just
And
hanging out, sleeping late, eating, whatever.
you gotta imagine Curdly arrives at the Dark Forest, and there's our council of villains, just kind of like, just glaring at him, and he's like, "Hey, well, can I join?" No.
Just imagine them all laughing at him. Just be like, we saw that.
I mean, we let Bad Red in, and we're not letting you in.
Wait,
Yes.
Bad Red never died, did he?
Well,
He
not
just
in
ran
both.
off.
I'm sure he died eventually, though. I mean,
That's true.
unless he
I-
became the new Ashleg and is in charge of HR for untold period of time.
I didn't think there was, like, Highlander rules. There could be only one. Just saying.
Okay, I'm glad I was debating about a Highlander joke too. So no, my humor is not dead.
So back to Stringle, who's like, someone go get Curdly, and it's just like, sorry, Stringle, your call to your boss can't be completed at this time.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Yep. We're sorry, your boss has died because of his own stupidity. Please leave a message, and Laga will laugh at you.
Yeah, Visca and Stringle are, like, squaring off against each other in
Okay,
this...
squaring off is a strong term here.
It's more like Stringle's one step away from wetting himself.
But it's so hilariously awkward because it's obvious that Visca is using his silver tongue to full effect, and Stringle's just like, well, you know what it's like? A jellyfish has more backbone than Stringle.
And don't get me. And remember, Stringle's the officer of the brown rats here.
Let's use that term loosely. Just because you're a captain doesn't mean you're an officer. Oh, so yeah. And Visca's even like, look, let's work together. Hang on, let me just put this little target new officer tunic on you. Why does it say shoot me? No reason.
No, he probably couldn't read anyway, so I think we're good.
Why is it lighting up in obvious orange and yellow patterns for anyone to see?
Yeah, why does this look like a construction worker's safety vest?
Don't
Shouldn't
you
this be
know?
like,
Badgers are afraid of the color orange.
Oh, okay.
oh, that's how that works. Wait, I thought they were colorblind. Or, or I should say, monocolor. It's just like they can only see red.
Well, I mean, he was seeing pink earlier, so I mean that's lightish red, but.
Oh, sure.
Donut blame me.
Just get to it.
So then we get a moment where Osbill's like, I'm gonna lick my blade of my rapier to test to see how sharp it is.
Oh my god!
I don't know. Like we see this a lot, like in fiction in general. Not we've seen it in this series, but it happens. Who came up with the I'm gonna lick the edge of my sword and make sure it's sharp?
I don't know, but
Probably
get the
some
feeling
very
when-
stupid Vikings that were just like, look at how manly I am. And it's like, that's not manly, that's you being a moron.
I get the feeling one of the other Gossam took the blade away from him. He's like, "What did you learn?" Not to lick my blade. Good.
Yeah. And at this point also I put in a note. I was like, I think Stringle is only a captain because unlike the rest of Hurley's crew, he has a partially working brain. And then I was
Yes.
just like, and Laggle didn't want the job.
Yes.
So,
Besides, she's
meanwhile,
the
on
only one that can do medicine. She's more valuable tending to Curdley because he needs it.
Yeah, and she likes torturing him, so it makes her happy.
And meanwhile, on the plateau, we get our heroes are like, "Hey, where's your hedgehog buddy? Oh, he's probably dead. We're gonna try not to think about it.
What hedgehog? We don't know anyone.
Certainly, don't forget about him for him to come back with a possible castle cavalry later. No, that's been done in this book twice.
No. And so
Seriously.
they decide to do some sniping. He.
Oh, before they do, Maudie makes a good account of herself by taking charge of assessing their overall strength and position.
Yeah.
And, looking at, okay, this is what we have in terms of weapons, this is what we have in terms of food. She must have been top of her class at Long Patrol School because she does a great job.
And even Miss Student of the Wise Taburo is like, why is food and drink important?
Yeah, it's like when because at first she seemed like smart and everything. She's saying, "Let's not charge them. Let's do this. Let's come up with a strategy." And she does ask, how do we defend our position? Because even though she knows how to fight, obviously she's never trained in war tactics.
Mhm.
But yeah, when she was like, "What does it matter what food we have?" It's like, really?
Well, she didn't put it exactly that way. She said, food and drink, why is that more important than weapons? So she's not saying, like, why does it matter? She's saying, shouldn't we be more concerned with weapons?
True. And then Maudie immediately is like, I should have said it's as important because if we run out of either, we're in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
then
yeah,
Rangval gets rather irritable about rations.
Yes.
He becomes,
and here's where my big continuity plot hole I have to address. Rainbow is a tree climbing squirrel that in previous books other hero groups would have not hesitated to take advantage of. Yes, I know you're up on a plateau, but there's clearly trees around said plateau, and you are a squirrel. A species we has clearly seen who is known to travel through the trees. You know what is near those trees in Mossflower Wood? Redwall.
They're out in the middle of a field on this plateau. There are no trees around them.
Oh. Point withdrawn.
Yep.
They're
Yeah,
literally up on a big rock.
Okay, I mean, I'm spoiling this here, but doesn't when the cavalry arrives, isn't some of them squirrels in trees?
Yeah, like really far out there, and those are shooting arrows at them.
Okay, my point is, no one ever brings up the idea of getting runners to go back to Redwall for supply lines.
Yeah, I think they're like totally surrounded though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they would be like, if it was just Stringle and the Moron gang there, I'd say like, yeah, they could risk it. But Vizca's there now, so now that there's competence on the other side, I'm gonna assume they don't want to take the chance. And
So no.
also, they're looking at it as a positive of they're keeping the battle away from Redwall too.
That's fair.
And
Anyway,
so,
yeah. Rangval is irritable about rations. Irrational.
and so we do have Vizca and Stringle. I'd say they're talking, but it's more like Stringle is randomly going, "Duh, I want to wait for Kerr to leave," and Vizca's like, "Let's just team up. It will solve all our problems." God, I wish someone would kill you so I could get through to your group. Oh, cool, an arrow just went through you. Awesome.
Yeah, we see some really great math here. Osbill plus bow and arrow plus guidance minus Stringle equals vengeance.
And we do have a good moment with Silixa, like kind of helping Osbill. This, the shrews we know aren't really known for sniping. And so she kind of helps guide his aim. Like, okay, wait, do it.
Yeah. It seems like bow and arrow is like they're always talking about like deep breath in, concentrate, and focus. It seems like bow and arrow is sort of a meditative sport. Like you have to really concentrate and focus on your breathing and stuff.
Well, I mean, I was briefly in competitive rifle shooting in high school, and there is science to this. If you're taking your time with a shot, and presumably this is ever more true with a sniper, you're actually supposed to fire on the down breath, like when you're breathing out.
Yeah. That's really cool though. I like, and I think it's cool that Silixa coaches him in that because I think she seems like she would do yoga if she was in our world. Like she would do yoga. She would meditate, like the mindfulness type person.
Silix's YouTube channel.
Right.
Get Zen with Silixa.
I don't have a clever quip. I'm trying to come up with something. I can't. Sorry.
And we get so Vizca is immediately is like, okay, everyone get down. They're shooting, and then when they're like, well, Stringle's dead, and he's like, good. Finally, we can get somewhere now.
Hey, so I'm becoming your leader by default. Anyone object?
Yep. And he's like, I have a working brain, unlike all of you.
You're right.
Yeah, let's take a variation of what Cuthbert said at in book 3 of Hyrule Lane, where it's like, I believe I outrank everyone here. It's like Vizca says, I have a brain. I believe that allows me to outthink everyone here.
Any objections? And no, duh, it's not a valid objection.
Yep. And here comes Vizca just coming on through, leading a coup, and it's like, I'm shocked, I tell you.
Yes.
Well, not that shocked.
Yeah.
No, that was sarcasm.
No. And I like it too, where they believe that, Gorath asks, like, do you think they're all preparing for an all-out attack? And Silixa's like, if the Fox is in command, he'll lay siege to us. Like, she immediately knows Vizca's not an idiot. Like, he's clever. Granted, I mean, they actually are kind of wrong. He's like I think it's like the very next chapter. He just goes, we're going to charge them. Well, all of you are going to charge them. I'm going to stand back here where it's so I can command all of you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we then get a moment where it's like, I will take Rangval to task a little bit because he starts complaining about the lack of food, which, especially in front of Gorath, who went a lot longer with absolutely no food whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of bad form there, dude. But I will say, it is a nice twist that, for once, it's a squirrel complaining about the lack of food rather than a hare.
Yep.
No
that
hare.
was the point I was going to make. I was like, please, thank you for not letting Madi do this because that would just be annoying.
Yep. And I'm not talking about any hare in particular, of course. Please, Scott!
Scare him.
I
Man,
didn't say it, Pete. I did not say it.
It's been a while since I've called Fleet Scud out.
Yeah.
Lisa's like, wait, I thought you liked me kind of now.
No, I just dislike you less than scare him.
Okay.
And to be fair, between the two of them, Fleet Scud was the one that complained about food the most, and he was also a lot older and should have known better.
That is true, yes.
Mm-hmm. Scarab's still worse, but you know. So we then get them find because Rangval does try like doing the old like, oh, we got plenty of food here and all that stuff, which we did see them do this back in Lord Brocktree once they had reclaimed Salamandastron.
Yes, but they actually did have food though.
Yeah, and they were careful not to use up what they had, and they also saw that Ungat Trun's forces were not doing well at all food-wise. So like, okay, this is actually a good mental tactic.
Yep. This is one of those moments where it's just, shut up, Rangval.
Yes, I love how Maudie was like, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to sing the song How to Strangle a Senseless Squirrel with actions to suit the words, of course.
Yeah. This is a hostile work environment.
Oh.
Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, I've mentioned on air before that Kindle lets you outline funny moments or important things you like in the book.
Mhm.
Monty's threat of singing a song of how to strangle a senseless squirrel is outlined by 56 people.
Please tell
I'm
me
not
people
surprised.
highlighted Curdly getting his ass kicked by the swan.
No, actually.
Or I guess it was more of he got his head cracked by the swan.
Thank
Right.
So anyway, Visca, takes control, and I do like the comment said, Brown Rats did what they had always done, sat and waited for Sunbees, usually Grunt and Curdly, to galvanize them back into action.
Except
And-
one particular brown rat named Gerba who doesn't have enough sense to realize should keep his mouth shut.
So I just have
Yeah,
to say, when I first listened to the audiobook, I thought his name was Gerber. And I was like, wait, Gerber?
Yeah, his name's Baby Food. Yes.
Yeah.
God.
Only's vulture food after this moment. And so, yeah, I was just like, Gerba? Bye, Gerba.
Yeah.
And then, I was like, so much for the Visca won't blind charge us theory, because his thing's like, all right, we're going to attack them. And I was just like, well, he's probably going to sacrifice the brown rats before his crew. I was partially right. He
Yeah.
will sacrifice the brown rats before some of his crew.
Right.
And Glorma starts, quote unquote, cooking again.
Yes.
And can't wait to hear what kind of stuff she creates, and then spits in.
Yeah.
Oh, the cook. Oh, the cook.
And yep, so Visca's plan in the morning is to charge. And chapter 35, it's basically them sitting around waiting for things to happen. And I'm going to point out, I forgot that Barbola and Kachuch were with them.
Yeah. I kind of like Maudie and Kachucha's conversation, though, because, I mean, it's just two women discussing military strategy, which should not be as rare as it is, but it is kind of rare. So I liked it.
Yeah, they had a good conversation. I will have to say, I believe a Kachuch is the evolved form of Kachunk.
God.
But I mean, as far as the military conversation goes, it is rare, but it was very well done.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not complaining. I'm saying that I liked it.
Yep.
So you liked it medium well?
What's your stake in this?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Now you get it.
I was gonna say, did we miss the part where Visca like selected 5 of his crew to be like, hey, if everything goes wrong, I want you to like get me out of here.
Yeah.
And have we ever had a situation like that where a villain is not completely confident that he's gonna win? Like I think Visca might be the most careful planner out of all the villains.
I honestly believe that too. Like he's very smart. He keeps looking ahead. Like, okay, this is where we're at now. Here's my plan, but So yeah, no, he's very smart. And we have had like the only other instance I can think of where the attack fails and the main villain gets the heck out of Dodge was Outcast, but that was more of Swart's army just failed. And he's like, I'm getting out of here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Visca has OCD, obsessive compulsive desertion.
Yeah.
Didn't Ungat Trun have an escape plan too?
He had a plan where if the combat was going badly, that Dumai was going to shoot Brocktree.
That was it.
And that didn't work very well for him.
Nope. He got a big hug.
He did.
I do like as they're talking. I like Rangval's song titles. Don't chomp cheese while your mother's chewing chestnuts. Or as my third choice, I can give you a red edition of my old auntie's favorite, The Battle of the Boiled Beetroot and How Do You Slice Strawberry Soup.
Strawberry
Rangval,
soup.
shut up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they start kind of just hanging out, and we have a little moment between Gorath and Selixa where he talks about like the first time he actually experienced blood wrath was where he decided to punch a boulder.
Side note, 5 minutes later, I get the steak pun. I didn't get it until now. Just thought I'd point that out. Continue.
Okay. So am I the only one seeing the grandfather deliberately goading his grandson into a berserker rage that could literally break this kid's body in the wrong circumstances as a bad thing?
Oh, no, it definitely is a bad thing.
It's kind of messed up.
Very messed up. It's his road to blood wrath is understandable, but very, very sad.
Yes.
I mean, this is kind of a Goku and Gohan scenario.
Seeing more like Piccolo and Gohan where he leaves him out in the wilderness and like, here, you figure this out for a month. I'll be back. Oh, yeah. And then Selixa sings a song for everybody.
Is mournful.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah. To quote a Disney movie, I can see what's happening and they don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Good lord,
too.
the shipping is kind of obvious here.
Can you feel the blood wrath tonight? Visca
Nice.
can.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, we have a good. I like the moment with Madi and Kachuch where Madi kind of explains what she knows. Like, if you see the fires are burning low, it means they're sleeping. But if they're burning fresh and bright, that means it's to distract us.
Mhm.
And so then, yeah, we get Visca's plan. And we also get some good moments here. Something else with Visca that's very different from other villains. When his subordinates question him or come up with actual good points, he doesn't smack them around. He actually has patience and then explains it, and will even like think about, like, Ragchin goes like, what if Curdley shows up before the attack? And he goes, that's a good question.
Yeah.
You know,
And
basically, you keep him talking, and then I cut his head off.
Much less, this is pretty much the opposite of Curdley we just saw right before his death would deal with his underlings who would raise very good questions. Because, if you remember, Curdley smashed rotten eggs over a subordinate and then died for his troubles.
Yeah. And we've had main villains that think they're just the smartest ones of all time and don't care about their subordinates. Like, Saramina obviously did not care about any of her subordinates. Badrang knew how to keep the morale up around him, and he didn't trust that many people. But also sometimes when subordinates did ask a question or something, he also didn't smack them around. Like, he would calmly look at the situation. Like, Visca's close to Badrang in terms of, I can keep a cool head when everything else is going insane. Unlike Starmina, which is, oh my god, rocks and water! Ah!
Counterpoint,
Mm-hmm.
Vizca's contingency plan is he's putting so much weight on it and so much time and consideration. Is it just me, or does it feel like he's actually planning on losing with that attitude?
Mm. Partly.
I mean, we've seen villains prepare for worst case scenario,
Mm-hmm.
but he's putting so much weight on it. It's just like you're expecting a loss here.
Oh, I know what must have happened. He must have read the other Redwall books and was like, "Oh, there's no way I'm gonna make it out of here."
Oh, so he pulled a Sonny Wrath. That's what he did.
Yeah.
I was gonna say is, I think he's been also looking back at how everything's been going so far, and he's seen that like everyone keeps failing in different attempts, and that the Red Wallers or like the Gaussum and Gorath and them keep pulling out surprises and things, and he's like, I want to believe we're gonna win, but I've also seen how literally every other plan we've tried has gone to hell, so no.
Yeah, we should probably have a contingency.
Yeah.
Secondary backup.
And a backup to the backup. And a backup to the backup to the backup.
I do like, though, one of the things we're seeing with the heroes is we're seeing like the strengths and weaknesses of them, where Rangval is, clearly very clever, master of his own area of the forest, as displayed in book 2, where he just made complete fools out of what's his Curdly. I've already forgotten his name. He's so worthless.
He's
Curdly
dead
and
to
his
you.
crew.
He's dead to you.
Yep. He's dead, period. But
Right.
But in warfare and in situations like this, he's clearly out of his element, as like displayed by his literal lack of common sense in multiple moments throughout this section. But he's also a good fighter, and like I said, he's clever when it counts. Osbil also is, obviously he's a strong fighter, and he's the leader of the Gaussum now, but he literally just got that position, I think it was like in story 2 days ago. So obviously he's got a lot to learn outside, aside from the typical, let's attack them.
Yes.
And we've also seen that Maudie, she has a short temper, which we saw in book 1 very clearly, and can be very gung-ho at times, but she's also a salamandastron hare, and she has been like the master of the situation right now. Like, she's taking command. She's putting that long patrol training to good use.
Yeah, I like Maudie a lot.
So just wanted to point out, like, I like how our heroes aren't perfect in every way. Like, we're seeing all of this mixture of strength and weaknesses with them.
Indeed.
I would argue, I mean, we can cover this more when we finish the epilogue, but is it just me, or does it feel like the characters in this book are more inherently flawed, yet in touch with those flaws?
That's true.
Yeah, I can see that because, like, I think Maudie knows that she has a temper, and she knows that she can sometimes get carried away.
Yeah, and like Gorath, where he has blood, he has the blood wrath problem, and unlike literally every other badger in the series that has suffered from it, he's actively trying to fight it and control it. Whereas every other badger has either embraced it, like Krega, or has been like, well, this is a thing that happens. So, yeah, no, I think that's very true. And I like that too. I like it when the hero characters aren't perfect and then learn how to get around their weaknesses or learn how to deal with them. It's an amazing thing. It's called character growth.
What?
But so they immediately get ready, and we get the moment of Kachooch seeing that all the fires are burning bright, and she remembers her conversation with Mahdi. It's like, yep, they're up to something. And lo and behold, they are up to something.
They are.
And I like this too, where they're actually they all go about quietly. Like, even Visca's crew kind of understands the need for the element of surprise. Though also, I'd also weigh that against, they're just afraid of their boss.
Yeah.
Visca
They
says
call
to
him
be quiet.
Andy.
Yeah. Visca says to be quiet, so I'm going to be quiet. Otherwise, he's going to smile, and bad things happen when he smiles.
Yes.
Yep. And then our heroes are waiting, and I do like this, where Mahdi's like, "Don't worry, we're all a bit edgy. What?" And Rangaval goes, "Oh well, it's just no surprise we're edgy. Sure, aren't we standing on the edge here?"
I thought of you when, and then Molly's like, "Oh, very droll, sir."
Yep.
And they're
Oh, go
they're
ahead.
waiting around. It's all foggy, and there's like nothing to move that impediment from their vision. So what are the vermin going to do next? I haven't the foggiest. Oops. Sorry to rain on your parade, Pete. I don't mean to cause you to zephyr, but I'll stop now, even though weather puns are a breeze.
I think you missed the mark.
True enough.
Boy.
I will say I love the banter between Rangval and Mahdi. It is one of the highlights of the story.
Yes, I can see these two having a friendship that goes for many, many seasons.
Mm-hmm. Kind of makes me think of oh god, I forgot their names. The two in Loam Hedge.
Burgoon and Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
And then we get the battle, and it's pretty good. I like the fighting. I like how everyone kind of gets their moments here and there. I really like a moment where Osbill, sees one of his shrews go down and immediately runs in to take his place.
Mm-hmm.
He's, like I said, he's not an experienced leader yet, but he's a darn good fighter.
Yeah, I like the way he grows throughout books 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. And now Rangval gets to redeem himself from his, kind of being a little annoying, but he gets to fight, and we've seen he is a good fighter.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, cavalry charge.
Yes, with the abbot at the
Mhm.
head with Orkwill, which we've never seen before. Like, we've never
Battle
seen an
Abbot,
abbot.
engage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abbot Dawkins heads up the Red Bull Abbey crew.
And guess what? Orkwill isn't dead. Who's shocked?
What?
No.
Rose dies?
Hey,
No.
wrong book.
Orkwill
No,
lives?
Rangval, not wrong book.
Oh boy.
Ron Blade? I wonder if he picks up the incorrect sword. Somebody goes, "You got the wrong blade."
Probably not.
Oh. And we get a good moment with Jungo. He was clearly perplexed, which I'm sure that doesn't take much.
Poor Jungo.
That's his natural state, don't you know?
Yeah. He just goes, "We was up there, Captain. I think we was winning. Dead Arrow started bringing our beast down. What is it, Captain? What's Alder shouting about?" And Visca keeps a cool head and sticks with his plan. And he's like, "It's nothing. I'll take care of it. Fight on, me brave buckos. We'll win. Let's get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
Cheese it.
Yeah, pretty much. And so the tide turns, and we get the Han in parentheses. I don't know why that makes me happy every time I see it, but it does. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say. So is this? If we have a battle abbot, do we even need an abbey warrior after this is all said and done?
He can be both.
That's a good point. Though I think at some point somebody should be like, Daucus, you're the abbot. You probably shouldn't be on the front. Oh, there he goes.
Yep.
I really like Abbot Daucus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's the first time we've seen an abbot that's like, yeah, I'm committed to peace, but sometimes peace can only be achieved through war.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I do like, you probably talked about this in book 2, but I do like when Maudie and Osville were like face to face and about to fight. He's like, yeah, well, I'm getting in the middle of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. He's very forceful and authoritative when he needs to be, and he's also very fun when he wants to be. Like, he's a very good abbot. I really like him.
He's
Um,
proactive. I think that's the word to describe him.
Yes.
Because there are some that are just like, I don't know what to do. You do it. You handle it. And it's like, no, dude, you're the leader. Do something.
Yep. Like, and we've had good ones here and there. Like, I always loved Abbot Mordalphus in Madame Mayo, where he was dealing with General Ironbeak. Where Ironbeak's like, I'll throw them off the roof. And he's like, do what you must. Like, he
Yeah.
keeps that cool exterior during that whole conversation.
Mhm. I also really liked Abbot Lycian.
Which one was
Mostly
that again?
because of
Hyrule Lane.
that was Hyrule Lane.
Oh,
Because the vermin tried to crawl all over the wall and she whacked him over the head with her teapot.
Yes.
that was good. So yeah,
I
the
found
tide-
the scene to be absolutely delightful.
Oh boy.
she wanted them to leave.
Yes.
I've been trying this time to hold it in, but man, you guys are
Boiling over.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our retribution is going to be rather steep, don't you think?
You have no idea.
It's a bag of laughs. So, as the tide turns, Gorath's like, I have to go. I have to go now. My planet needs me. No, he said he had a dream. I'm assuming it involves tongue, Visca, and lots of blood.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Oh, and Celix is like, I said her name wrong. His clearly not girlfriend's like, I have to follow my dream too.
Which involves walking 5 feet to the right and then telling people you ran off on your own.
Yeah.
Literally all she does.
Yeah.
So, chapter 37.
His artwork is straight up.
How anthropomorphic are they?
How anthropomorphic are they? Very. I don't know that we've addressed this for this book, but there hasn't been a single piece of artwork or story bit here to suggest anywhere near feral. Our chapter 37 artwork is literally Gorath with his big old pitchfork running.
And it's very cartoonish, too. The posture reminds me of like a Looney Tunes style dog, like sniffing out their prey, where the nose just kind of distends and like.
Put 'em up.
That's the Cowardly Lion.
Oh, I don't remember anything.
Are you telling me your pop culture knowledge like begins after 1960?
I can't even remember the last time I saw The Wizard of Oz. I just remembered hearing that in something else, probably.
I don't know if I've actually seen Wizard of Oz, to be honest. I've read the book, but
The movie's a mite different.
oh yeah, no, I've heard about it. I think I know all the major plot points, but I was thinking the other day, I'm like, have I actually seen a lot of these movies that people talk about, or have I picked them up through osmosis? I don't know. Anyway.
Cultural osmosis is definitely a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The songs are great, though.
I feel like you could have, quote unquote, have seen multiple movies just by watching episodes of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Like on one of the commentaries, one of the writers was like, "Our goal is to eventually have enough clips that you could put them together and watch a Citizen Kane through our show."
Nice.
So, yep, we've got Visca and his remaining few crew, his 5 cohorts, as the book calls them.
Viscus ditched his crew for a ditch.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
They believe they're being followed, and they realize it's Glurma. And it says, "It was Glurma, the fat old cook of the Blood Gullet."
Yeah.
Aww.
In case you didn't
Glurma,
know.
you weren't invited to the party. I don't think Visca likes uninvited guests.
Nope.
Just made me. I felt bad for her though, because
Oh, yeah, you kill your cook.
yeah.
My my exact notes were in 2 spaces. Glurma, the ultimate survivor. Haha. Or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Bye, Glurma. I'll miss reading about your awful cooking."
Conversely, I wrote, R.I.P. Glurma, your cooking will not be missed.
It's also at this point that I realized I completely forgot that Visca had Martin's sword.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And that had completely switched. Bless. I can't talk. I can't
Slipped
think
your
of the word.
mind?
Slipped my mind. Thank you.
English.
my God.
English hard.
I mean, did it, Captain, slip your mind?
There no.
I really should stop. I can't help it. It's a reflex.
So
If this is my last episode, folks, please understand this is how I wanted to go.
out with a pun.
Mm-hmm.
So
Moving along.
Yep. So back to the heroes, and they're like, "Orkwill, where'd you go?" He's like, "Yeah, I slipped and fell and got knocked out, and when nobody seemed to care, I woke up and then ran back to Redwall and went, 'Hey, help!'"
Yeah.
And
And
the
guess
abbot's
what? They
just
helped.
like, "Hey, abbot, stop! He's dead."
So yeah, they brought in a bunch. They found a bunch of random Mossflower inhabitants or extras, and said like, "Hey, you guys want to kill some sea pirates and brown rats?" And they're like, "Do we?"
Yeah.
So we're told this is another tribe of Gossam, all well and good, but we don't even know if it is like mainland Gossam or if it's the Gossam. What
Yes.
was that other one a few books ago?
Gurafs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's just some.
Maybe it's just me, but I love it when the Redwall bells toll an emergency and everyone in Mossflower turns out to help. It's just like, wait, that's not when the bell's supposed to ring. Oh, they need me. I must go now. My Abby needs me.
And we also told that we get some otters, so presumably that's the Mossflower Holt. But if there's a skipper, we don't know that they're there.
We did have Skipper Rourke in
Yeah.
Redwall.
Yeah.
His name's Rourke, right?
I think in Doomwhite, Eulalia, and Sable Queen, I think the skippers have very similar names, and I always forget which one's which, so I don't know.
Yep. And so I like how Mahdi immediately comes up with nicknames: Orkers and Rangi.
Yes.
I like that.
They're very hair nicknames, too.
Mm-hmm. And so then Selixia's like, "By the way, Gorath went that way. That was my dream. I was to let Gorath leave and then let you know about 5 minutes later."
Yep. And you guys come along, too, because you got to get your sword and stuff.
Yep. And I like it too where... Oh, there it is. Skipper Rourke. Right on page
Yes.
300.
Ah.
There we go. Yay! I think it's funny. He says, "I've been out of action too long." I don't think he does anything else for the rest of the book, but hey, why not? But I do like it where they have like, "Oh, here's our couple of main characters that need to go." And unlike many other times when Martin's been like, "Some of you shall go," they're like, "No, let's bring a bunch of people just in case."
Hey.
Martin's like, Finally, I didn't say just them should go. God, those guys in the Bellmaker were not very bright.
And there's Rose like, Martin, you sent 4 teenagers after the tapestry that one time. Don't tell me that your stuff isn't that obvious.
Martin, confident
Yeah.
we then get, I love this last section here, where Gorath the Flame was following his fate.
I immediately thought of Orlando the Axis following the fox.
Yeah,
me
that's
too.
exactly what was on mine.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. I love this whole section, just describing him. It's this quick recap of all of his hardships that steel his resolve to take out Visca. And the last line, Gorath the Flame, was following his fate.
Yeah.
Love it. Chapter 38, which has the most tragic moment in the book. We get a good line, and I was laughing because it said, Jungo, who is not the brightest of weasels, and every time the book brings up Jungo, it continuously reminds us that he's stupid. I love it.
Before we get too far, the chapter art, you can see Visca just like half bent over. He's got the mace in one hand, Martin's sword in the other, and he looks like he's panting, like he's been running for hours and hours and hours. It is just pathetic.
I thought it looked more like he was like, guys, come back. I'll be your friend.
Yeah, it's kind of that there too.
I'll share my lunch. I have apple slices.
I mean, I didn't kill the Oh.
Oops.
Yeah.
And so then, Jungo's like, you said you wanted to get away quick, Captain. Probably because you were scared of that big stripe hound following you. And Visca kills Jungo!
Yeah, and like in the
Aw.
audiobook, it didn't say that like Jungo was making fun of him for being scared. He just like matter of fact, he's like, yeah, you wanted to get away probably because you were scared of the badger. Like he wasn't even making fun of him. And Visca's like, rah, toxic
Yeah.
masculinity.
Visca, you killed my favorite character.
Yeah.
Alas, poor Jungo. We knew him kind of well.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Aw, you killed Jungo.
What is this? Martin's sword in my hand?
And so, and then they immediately all run away. And you know what, Visca? That's what you get. You
Right.
killed Jungo, now you're all alone. You think about what you did, young man.
So here's our letters of resignation, boss, and we'll forward you the address we want our last paychecks.
And I really, I really respect Ferdy here for basically calling out everything that Visca's done wrong.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like, Ferdy, me old mate, what did I ever do to you? It's like, well, you never did nothing to me, but you killed Glurma, you killed Jungo.
Oh, and
Yeah, we all like Jungo.
he did say you bullied me like a lot. So
We all like Jungo, man. That wasn't cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Ferdy gives him. Sorry, I had to step away for a quick second.
That was a moment of silence for Jungo.
Yep.
There we go.
Alright,
Ferdy
Jungo.
gives Visca the reason you suck speech.
Yes.
And I'm legitimately sad that Jungo is gone. I really liked him. And they even said he never hurt anybody. And you know what? I don't think we ever had a moment of Jungo actually hurting anybody.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he was just sort of a good-natured dummy.
Yeah.
I think he's too dumb to kill anybody.
Yeah.
He doesn't know which end of the spear is the pointy one.
Yeah.
I'm calling back to the Redwall Defense Guide, yet he doesn't know not to grab the pointy end.
He's like, I am bleeding, therefore making me the victor. But Visca, who's now a real glasses half full sort of villain, he's like, wait a minute. I still have 2 crew left on the ship that I left to guard it. I don't remember their names, but who cares? They're probably not important. All right, I'll be good. I can then sail out, and I'll get a whole crew again, full of better people who will stay loyal to me and they'll like me for who I am. And then,
I just need a hug.
You know, Jeremy, the way you're spinning this makes it sound an awful lot like the speech that Orkle was giving to himself in book 1.
I'm gonna be perfectly fine, and I'm gonna show them. I'll come back and why is it really quiet back at the ship?
Yeah.
Visca is the master of self-delusion. He's just
Yeah.
like, everything's gonna go my way because I say so. I don't think that's how reality works.
Nope. It's like Visca, I'm sure in somewhere your plan is good, but your one fault is this is Earth. So yeah, we then find out Maudie and her companions are looking for Gorath. I mean, I don't know. Do you think they'll find him? And along the same lines, is Martin's sword sharp?
Perhaps.
Well, you can ask Junk. Oh, never mind.
Oh.
Can Captain Slip not cook?
So chapter 39. Okay. I legitimate question. So the two ferrets who were left to guard the ship, Ball and Widge. Am I the only one who sees that as a subtle Biggs and Wedge reference?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's Star Wars and Final Fantasy.
Shrug.
I don't know. That was immediately when I saw that. I just thought Biggs and Wedge.
I think Jake's like deliberately stayed away from other fantasy stuff just so his ideas wouldn't get like people couldn't say he stole stuff from other people.
No.
That's the impression I got from the interviews, but maybe it could be. I don't know.
No.
Oh, you also got to like in chapter 39, the artwork. That's a Viking ship. So we should have been doing Visca's lines in a thick Norse accent this whole time, shouldn't we?
Well, I'm sure he'll be around for a lot longer. And there's only like 15 pages left. Never mind.
Oh, I'm sure he'll just get to the ship and get away. Taking Martin? No, of course not.
Yeah.
I will also say I immediately love these two. They've taken Jungo's place in my heart.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got over Jungo fast.
They're having a laziness contest. Which one of them is, the laziest? Why does this feel like the most relatable Redwall thing ever?
It really is. Where he's like, this ship started to sink now, I wouldn't move. That's what you call real lazy. He's like, you call that lazy? Listen, mate, I wouldn't even budge if this whole ship went to fire.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the easy job. Their job is to stay behind, guard the ship, and eat all the nice food that's still in the ship's larders.
Yeah. And I'm so lazy, I wouldn't even budge if a giant badger. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm budging.
Oh, hi, Mr. Giant Badger. Hello.
Yep.
Look, I'll make this simple for you guys. I'm just looking for your boss. Anyone seen him?
No.
Oh, okay. Off you go then. Yes,
He does not
thank
kill
you.
them, though.
No.
Yep.
Gorath's
good graces. Gorath's good graces.
Oops.
Smidge of Craiga and a bit of Sunflash and a tiny little sprinkle of Bella.
Gorath's good graces give generous goodwill to garbage guys. Great.
Woo!
I do like his immediate, like, obviously he was listening to them, and I like his line, my kin beasts weren't lazy, they were old and weak, so they couldn't better their way out of a burning dwelling after sea-raiding vermin locked them in.
They're like, no, that would not have been us. We were in the opposite direction as far as we could possibly have been from that. Yep.
Yep. We didn't do it. It was Bob. We swear.
Who is this Bob? Where can I find him? Oh, he's in accounting.
And somewhere the real Bob's like, why did I just get a shiver down my spine?
Yeah.
So wait, so now we have vermin accounting to go with vermin HR.
I wouldn't want either of those jobs.
Nope. And so, yeah, Gorath actually does spare them and basically just says, run.
Yes.
And keep running. And yeah, so I like him constantly fighting against the Blood Wrath. And this is a good moment where, like, let's be fair, if this was almost any other Badger in this franchise, they'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like, if it was Ron Blade, I mean, they wouldn't have even noticed it. He wouldn't even given them a chance. They'd have just been like, why can't I feel my body? Why is there a sword blade where my neck was?
Yeah, and I mean, even Lana Bowstripe from Loamhedge was just like, if you tell me what I want to know, you will not die slowly. He's like, blah blah blah. Okay, you didn't die slowly.
Yeah. Oh god, if they would, Lana would have pinned both of them to the wall of the ship with one of his arrows.
Yeah.
It would have also been a very epic scene to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So then Vizca comes back to the ship and is like, it's kind of quiet around here. All right.
Too quiet.
Yeah. I'm sure everything's fine. Oh, look, they got a fire going in the galley and uh-oh.
Yep.
It's
Vizca's
quiet.
only true talents are a silver tongue and a level of caution that rivals any other vermin leader's strength. Too bad they're both about to fail him.
Yeah.
Mhm. We get, and then Vizca has the wherewithal to get away from the door as the pitchfork slams through it and nearly takes his head off. And then we get a different but really good final battle with Gorath and Vizca, and we get the immediate note that Gorath is not a seasoned fighter. He mostly just kind of knows how to pick people up and snap their necks or stab them with his pitchfork.
Yes.
And Vizca picks up on this, but then basically dooms himself by getting cocky.
Hmm.
And Gorath calmly gets through the fight. He doesn't need or use the Blood Wrath, and he doesn't just use his physical strength, but he keeps a calm head throughout the entire fight, waits for his moment, doesn't go into a blind rage when Vizca almost has him dead to rights at one point, and then calmly uses what remains of his weapon, because Vizca chops it apart a couple times, and first disarms Vizca by knocking his mace and chain away, then knocks the sword away, then finally grabs him by the snout and neck and snaps his spine.
Yep.
Hog.
Ah,
No,
and
it's not a badger hug for the first time.
No, it's like a
It's more of like a
full
like from the
Nelson. I don't know.
it's from the original Nightfall storyline from Batman comics in the 90s, where Bane first showed up and break you, crunch.
I must break you. But
And
I
here
like
we
that, where his strength finishes Vizca. Like, he beats Vizca soundly, but, well, he kills Vizca with his strength, but his brains won the fight.
Yep.
Mhm.
So
And here we
very-
see a badger lord in his natural hunting grounds, a seal vermin vessel. Little does his hapless prey realize that his life is about to end. Such is the circle of life in this harsh world, if you're a vermin.
No, I really like this type of fight. So yeah, very well done.
I like after that when Silixa, like, everybody gets on the ship and she's like, I was kind of worried that you would take the blood wrath because I heard you shouting the war cry. He's like, oh no, I just like the sound of it.
I like that.
And Visca should feel honored. He got the Ungat special free of charge. I hear that treatment does wonders for your flexibility.
God.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't get a minion that our bad guy to show up again and bid them farewell on the sea voyage, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferdy doesn't come back to get the last laugh.
Nope.
But But yeah, we get them naming the ship Eulalia.
Mhm.
I like that.
But wait, does that mean this book is named after this ship or the war cry? I'm confused.
There's an
Hmm.
exclamation point in it, so unless someone's calling out after the ship, I'm going to go with the war cry.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. And then we get the greatness of Captain Orkwell.
Yeah, he's just like
This-
trips over nothing, falls down.
I'm okay.
This hat in the chapter art is just so big and floppy with feathers. It reminds me of the Dr. Seuss book, The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, where each time he takes off a hat, there's another one underneath, but they start to get more and more grandiose.
I was gonna say it looks like someone stole Captain Barbossa's hat from Pirates of the Caribbean.
So I do like, though, where he trips and falls and then gets up and just be like, River's a bit choppy tonight. Watch how you go.
And they look at like the smooth, completely calm river. Yep, it is.
Yep.
Yep. Orkwell attempts to be rather dashing, so I wonder if he's wearing short pants.
Possibly.
Oh my god.
I think I missed that one.
It's another Homestar Runner reference.
Oh. All right. And so they they head off for Salamandastron. And speaking of which, oh my god, we're actually back at Salamandastron.
Oh yeah, that place.
Holy cow. We've got Ashai and Major Mullen. I honestly never thought we'd see them again for the rest of the book.
Oh, they're back.
How-
There's one point where the narrator is like, blindness did not stop the badger from enjoying the day. And I already talked about my feelings on this in the first book, so I won't get too much into it. I've just been thinking about a very mature, composed response to my attitude about this. This is what I came up with.
Perfect.
Moving on.
Eloquently expressed.
Thank you.
I
do
put in
like-
my notes
Mhm.
that, Katie would have to say something about the well, we're not there yet, but the face touching, and it's just like, yeah, I know.
I noticed that too.
I do like Tringle and Ferps
Yes.
are two new runners, and I do love how they fall out. Like they keep forgetting like who they're with. Like they realize it's a Major and the Badger Lord. But I absolutely love when Ashley goes, "Mole, you could be mother. Pour tea for us." And
Yes.
they're like, "Spoons of honey in my tea, mother. Me too. Can you pass the cucumber sandwiches? I'll mother you two when I get you out on the parade ground."
So
that was
good.
Oh. And so they spot that a ship is coming in, and Ashai is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put on my Sunday best, get me
Yep.
some armor and an axe.
Right.
I'm gonna axe them some questions."
Well, actually,
Oh boy.
So we go back to the ship, and Rangval's not having a fun time.
No,
I mean,
poor guy.
seasickness is no joke.
Yeah. I do like this though, where the Ozbill's like, "Would you like? It's like, it's been a pleasure knowing you, Rangval. Would you like me to? Would you like to do me a parting favor, seeing as you're dying?" And he's like, "Anything for you. What? Name it. Can I have your daggers?"
Yeah.
Well, he's better now.
And then when they try to, like, they give him medicine. Yeah, I love his scream. Yarg!
You murderers, you killed me.
So then they spot the Long Patrol, and okay, I'm sorry, I have to go through all these names.
Yes.
Go on.
Major Mole, which we knew about. Corporal Thwirl, which reminded me of Thwirl.
Mm-hmm.
Biffy Bigelow.
That
Right?
has to be a nickname. Really hope that's a nickname.
Yep. Lanky Lockbin.
Yep.
Stinky Scarbuttle. That one, I'm like, okay, you got to be making it up. Big Bo Sulligan. Color Sergeant O'Flug. And Colonel Craglow.
Yep.
Okay, Marty, you're making these names up, aren't you?
Maybe.
For all we know, they're nicknames and, typical Long Patrol joshery.
Yes.
This is true, but
Haha, joshery. That's a fun word.
I get it.
and so we get a grand welcoming for Gorath and Selixa, and I do like a slightly different welcoming to the new Badger Lords, where like obviously we had Mossflower slash Outcast, where Sunflash arrives at Salamandastron, and we had the epilogue in the Long Patrol where Rusano arrives. But also, this is the first time we've had a on screen, quote unquote, because obviously we hear the story from Boar, but in the actual book, this is the first time where the previous Badger Lord has welcomed the new one to Salamandastron.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Ms.
So,
Boar,
this is your job now. You have fun with it, kid. I'm out.
literally.
Yes, after I feel your face for 30 minutes, very uncomfortably.
Yeah. Puts on a Hawaiian shirt, some sunglasses. Why does he need sunglasses? Don't know.
Hawaiian shirt. It's like, where'd you get that Hawaiian shirt from? What's Hawaii?
Kind of around by Portugal, where the horses are.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yep. So then we get the epilogue, and it's kind of a slightly different epilogue. Like, we get essentially a flashback to something that would have happened like right after the end of the last chapter, but it's in the epilogue instead.
Yeah, I kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of a neat way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I would have liked if the book had been slightly longer, so we could have gotten like a little bit more with the closure. But that's fine. This was at least it's doing something different with the epilogue, kind of like with Triss. Though this
Except
one
this is
doesn't.
good.
This first one was good. Shut up. I was just about to say this one at least doesn't summarize what would have been the last 3 chapters of a book, but so we then find out. This next part I think is a little bit too much of a that's kind of convenient, but so we find out that Ashai and Tabura are brothers.
Yep.
Surprise!
Yeah,
And it makes it it's a much happier ending than the Earth Twins. That's for certain.
Yep.
Yes, I did kind of like this because Ashai was convinced that like when they were saying my time at Salamandastron's nearing an end, it meant that he was going to die, but no, it just meant he was going to go to Redwall to hang out with his brother.
Yep.
Well, I'm retired. You guys have fun.
Yep.
Here's the keys. Yeah, no, I did. Well, I think it's a little convenient. I think it's well done, and yeah, I agree. I like the twist that Ashai gets to spend his remaining seasons at peace at Redwall. Like it's an end for a Badger Lord that we don't get very often, and also it's a nice twist. We got Redwall with 2 male Badgers there.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing? Yeah, when these 2 brothers finally meet. Mom always liked you best.
Yeah. Oh, did we mention this epilogue is by the daughter of Gorath and Selixa?
We have not.
Yes.
Rowan Bloom.
Rowan Bloom.
Yep. We also
Princess of the Mountain.
Yep. Which we also find out that Rangval stayed at Salamandastron. Like,
yeah.
We don't get that. Like, this is the first. Okay, actually, it might be the second time a creature that isn't a hare or badger to be part of Salamandastron. The only other one I can think of is in book Salamandastron was that old squirrel Ashnan.
Oh yeah.
So she stayed there, but yeah, and I like how she calls him Uncle Rangval, unofficial scout in charge to the Long Patrol.
Yes.
Oh, and finally, for the first time in forever, Selmanstron has its one ship, but it's a navy.
Yes.
Yeah. It's one ship.
Oh.
It's the Eulalia.
And we
But
also
it's
find
not
out
even part of the official Long Patrol. They just kind of treat, oh, it's just our pleasure craft.
Yeah.
we go on a 3-season tour.
Oh boy.
Ting.
I do like how this one they keep better in touch with Redwall and its actual journey, that like a typical journey for them to make, which we didn't get very much. We really don't see very often in the series where the two really communicate.
No.
We also find out Ashai's real name, because Ashai was the name he was given for his tendency towards battle and blood wrath. And anyway,
Yes.
his real name's Furlon.
I would
Yeah, I like
change
Ashai
my name
better.
Yeah.
Though the
Is it a
Tabura's real
wonder we
name of
changed it?
Melutar is awesome.
too. Yeah.
Melutar the Tabura. I don't know, that works.
Yeah, I get the feeling Ashai shows up. It's like, oh, Furlong, shut up.
Tell everyone.
And you hear everybody at the Abbey sniggering.
Yep.
It's Furlong.
You mean you tell me your middle name is Shelley? Oh.
Used to be latrine, but we changed it. Yep. And so, yep, that's the end of the book. All right.
And so, how did this one compare to the others? It's a good entry. My only real complaint is that the story ends and begins with, a badger's quest for vengeance, as we always seem to do. But the difference is that no, Gorath doesn't use the blood rat to into that. Oh, he still breaks the spine of the guy he hates the most, but he's just doing that as a regular warrior instead of, blood wrathy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
I was
bad
going to
book.
say it's a nice switch up. Is when he finished that fight, I thought back to Sunflash in Outcast, where his last moment taking out Swart was
Yeah.
And Krieger was literally, come to me, rom nom nom nom. And Boar went down fighting. What else? Earthstripe killed himself to kill the big bad.
Mhm.
And
Ron Blade fought a giant enemy crab, scorpion, whatever. Fatality.
Yes.
And
Actually,
yeah,
no, wait,
most...
he didn't kill it.
He did not.
No, he didn't. He just used it to kill, Crazy Pants. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And
Gamool.
then Dandin cut it up into little scorpion pieces.
He did.
Most of these Bedroom Lords, when they're in Bloodwrath, I mean, they don't get to savor the victory. But, yeah, Gorath did.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the line of, I was never your slave. Now die.
I do think back to, what's it called? Brock Tree, where after he, give me a hug, after they won, they bandaged up his head, and they're all just kind of chatting, and then all of a sudden, like, his bandage fell down over his eyes. He's like, all right, nighttime, everyone go to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I have many notes. I really liked this book. This was the first time I read it. Book one was definitely slower than some of the others, but I also thought it provided a good foundation, helped set up the characters for the big real meat of the story, which was book two. That was the longest part. That was like 120 or 140 pages. But book two didn't feel super long. Like, I kind of just cleared through it, whereas I'm not trying to pick on it, but like there were points in Hyrule Lane where I was just like, all right, let's just keep going. I just got to keep moving. I'm not trying to bag on Hyrule Lane. It's just I just didn't enjoy it very much at times. And I liked seeing where the story in this one went. And I think I said, I mentioned, I think a slightly increased length could have helped with like a couple things here and there. I have no real huge complaints over this book. Like mainly just a few nitpicks here and there. Like Curdley and his crew were pretty lame, though I also loved the payoff to it. Like I loved that. I also think there was no real conclusion to the Redwall plot. Like I think Orkwill's redemption arc could have been done a little bit better, where
Yeah.
book 3 ends with him returning Martin's sword, and that's like his final bit of redemption. Like he's actually returning something that somebody else stole. And I think that would have been a better payoff than what we got with him in book 2. I still feel like they kind of welcomed him back way too quickly. Or more like it's fine them letting him back in. But it's like, hey, there's evil pirates wandering about. But also they're like, all right, you're back, you're reinstated, and you're a guard now.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little rushed. But on the other hand, I loved Mahdi and Rangval. Both of them were just fantastic. Mahdi just overall was very fun, and I liked how she grew throughout the story and was able to take that leadership position, showing that she had more patience than at the beginning of the book. And I'm a big fan of the type of character that Rangval is, where he's the fun character. He's the unofficial quote unquote morale guy. And you can just really tell that Jake's had a lot of fun writing him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked Gorath, and like Pete said, like, he is kind of similar with vengeance, but he's also different in his own way. And I liked his journey, and I really liked his final battle. And as a major contrast to the previous book, I absolutely loved the villain in this story. Visca Longtooth was fantastic.
There's not a lot. We kind of over litigated Hyler Lane already, at least the villains. But yeah, as Jeremy pointed out, there's a lot to like about Visca. Less about Gertie, but at least he's doing a public service of feeding the fishes.
Right.
And providing a very hilarious death. Yeah, like the previous one, I hated the villains because they were just annoying and awful and stupid and ugh. But in this one, I hate him as a villain because he's a complete monster. And that's why you're supposed to dislike the villain.
Yes.
And he's also clever. And I like the contrast with him and Gorath, where Gorath is trying to fight against this terrible thing that will change him and eventually like kind of sticks with who he is, and that's why he ends up winning. Whereas Visca does pretty well as patient and calculating, but it's at the end when he completely just starts to lose it and kills his own crew instead of creatively finding a way for them to take each other out like earlier. And his final confrontation with Gorath, he destroys himself because he lets himself get cocky. He doesn't stay cool and collected like, all right, I'm a better fighter than him. I need to use that to my advantage. No, he gets cocky. He immediately kind of backs off a little bit and thinks that he can win no matter what, as long as Gorath's not going full blood wrath. And that's his downfall.
I mean, yeah, there's one thing: if you're going to be a villain in any of these books, you cannot be cocky. Don't. It will doom you every time. Yeah. I mean, Badrang even had a plan when he was cocky. He still had, when he went out to fight out Feldo because he knew he needed to keep the respect of his troops, he still had a backup plan.
Yep, and he needed it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this one isn't my favorite book, but I really liked it, and I'm kind of like, part of me is like, God, I wish I had read this like back in the day, but I'm also glad I finally got to read it now, and I got to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about this book. I also think all my complaints from the previous 2 books, like they still bother me, especially the ableism stuff. That was just disappointing coming from Jakes, who gave us great blind characters like Krega. But I also really I love Mahdi. I love Rangval. Orkla has his moments. He has some pretty good moments. And Longtooth definitely has a place in the Villains Council. They have made a place for him. because he was a good
Mhm.
villain. Yeah, this and Hyrule Lane, I seem to like some of the characters I like much better than some of the story stuff. Like in this one, we have the wisest badger who ever did badger, and I'm just like, okay, sure. I wasn't a huge fan of that. I liked Slixa. I didn't like some of the romancy stuff. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I just wasn't the biggest fan of the romance here. How it was, it was fine. Like I'll definitely read this again because I do reread the Redwall series a lot. But this isn't my favorite. However, it has really good parts in it.
Yeah, and for me, going into this, I remembered by reputation that this book was not like the most loved. It wasn't a Moss Flower. It wasn't a Long Patrol. But at the same time, I also don't think it's one of the lower tier books either. It's a character unto itself. It's something different. And anybody who I know I've gotten on the soapbox before, but anybody who says that Redwall, all the books are the same, hasn't really properly read through this series. They don't understand, or they're misremembering in some way, shape, or form. Because this is a very different novel than he's previously written. I went into that in episode 1, talking about just how uncomfortable some of Orkwill's traits are. How, as a character, he feels almost a little too true to life. His awkwardness is too relatable and very uncomfortable to read, especially because basically anybody who's ever been a teenager has had moments of that at some point in their life. But at the same time, as I touched on earlier this episode, he's a very flawed character. And by the end, he's still flawed. He doesn't become a Rackety Tam level character overnight. You can see that, well, maybe if they revisit, if the book was revisited in 12 seasons, 14 seasons, 18 seasons, yeah, he's probably improved a whole heck of a lot, become a much different character. But at the same time, that's what character development's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at each of our primary protagonists, Orkwill, Gorath, Maudie, they each have growing to do in their own ways and develop and become better. It's not like, oh, you're destined to become thus and such. Outside of killing Vizca, that's about as much destiny as we can expect out of Gorath. I mean, saying, oh yeah, you're going to become Lord of Salamandastron. Well, duh, every male badger who's tracked down the guy that killed his family always ends up Salamandastron. It's basically a foregone conclusion.
You figure at some point vermin stories would pass around. If you find a lone or a solitary badger teenager or young adult, do not mess with them. Like there's got to be stories coming down the line of almost every vermin bad guy who did this always ends up coming to bite them.
Oh, you mean much how the stories about magic swords circle around?
Yeah. I mean, there's that.
Yeah, like I feel like the only vermin leader we've ever had that actually paid attention to stuff like that was it Sonny Rath, the one who
Yep.
named yeah,
He had
Yep.
superstitions and he acted on them.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and like they've said, like Redwall is a place of death. Let's not go near it. Let's not mess with it because I've heard what happened to the people that try to take it over.
Mm-hmm. So all that being said, it's like, yeah, there are moments in this book that it's just like, yeah, I don't particularly care for that, or a lot of these big long conversations that took on top of the stony hilltop, I didn't care for, just because it dragged on for far too long. But at the same time, I really like the characters, both on the good creature side and on the bad. A lot of really creative writing and dialogue that made them very interesting, particularly for the audiobook, very well voice acted, and
Indeed.
some of the songs are just absolutely incredible. Shout out to the Blade Chants, both 1 and 2.
Hmm.
So, I'll give this book a solid uh, ambiguous scale here. 8 boiled eggs out of 10.
You know, that's the other thing. Old Gertie, he only boiled his eggs. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like hard-boiled eggs now and then, especially in salads. But that's not the best way to eat eggs.
I'm gonna go with he's too stupid to know you can prepare them in other ways.
So noted.
Or maybe he just has no
That-
teeth in his head, and that's the only way he can actually manage to consume them.
He had no brain in his head either.
I mean, we already covered that. He only has a second stomach up there.
So yeah, all right. That is Eulalia.
Okay. So, next, before we get to where you can find us, I want to talk about our upcoming schedule. So, here's what we're looking at, folks. Yes, we're recording this early June, and this will be out in about 2 weeks when you hear it. So, but given it's summer, I think we're overdue for a summer food schedule. Yeah, summer food episode schedule. So that's what we'll be doing next. And I'm hoping to have some guests on show. Since we have had a lot of new siblings pop up in the Redwall podcast verse. Well, unfortunately, To Give a Mouse Dagger seems to have fallen apart, and Redwall, or no, excuse me, not Redwall. The Red Wall podcast seemed to never pick up for their second season. They mentioned they were going to start. We have had 3 new podcasts come up, and I believe I've mentioned one on air so far. And they are, and I'm going to mention that they are, and since then, we have had, I'm totally looking them up, we have Redwall, which is the newest one, and it's 2 guys with the occasional guest going through the books pretty much like we did, with 1 book section at a time. Although they did cover the entire first season of the cartoon on its own, which is frankly a lot.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the second one, they haven't put out an episode yet, but they're working on it, is Abbey Archives. And you can find them on Twitter at Abbey Archives. And they haven't got an episode out yet. They're still in the pre-game stages, but as soon as they do, I will definitely be promoting them on our show. And then lastly, the one who I just found out about is, let me see, it is, quote, Fox Penmanship is their podcast. Now, they're a little different than conventional podcasting distribution goes. Right now, their only place you can find them is on YouTube. And I did recently retweet them with our deep voice sister Myrtle brought us a new sibling. So, because I couldn't resist doing that
I saw
joke.
that. That made
Yeah.
me chuckle.
New podcasts.
So, obviously, yeah, we're the oldest and we got here first, but I'm not claiming any primacy here. As far as I'm concerned, high tide lifts all boats. And if I can get any and all of these guys on our show at some time, I will. Especially since we've got the Netflix material still coming. Hopefully, who knows when it's going to actually show up.
Yeah.
So, summer food's coming up. If I can get any of those guys on for it, I will. Then, either what'll happen next is because of the controversy last year, I am not leading the next trivia episode. KD has prepped that for us. Now, if that comes out after the food episode, that's certainly possible. Or it might have to wait for the book. You know, we've all been waiting for the book. All of these guys have built up this whole time that I don't think Jeremy has ever touched. Doom what?
Oh no, I read it.
Oh.
Yeah, it has
Well,
scarred
there
him.
goes my big sell there. Thanks, Jeremy. Okay.
This will be the second time I've read it though. So I read it once about, I think it might have been like 6 years ago though. So unfortunately all the stuff I remember is the stuff I didn't like. So
So
There's
yes.
good stuff in it. I promise.
So yes, after the food episode and possibly the trivia episode, there is Doom White. Now, that, depending on how long that takes us, that's going to leave us close to October. And that just means after that is the third Angel's Command book.
You mean
Castaways of the Holy
okay,
Dutchman.
Yep.
Yes.
I corrected myself.
Voyage of Slaves, I believe it's called.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, we'll get to that when we cover it, but that may not show up on our traditional RSS feeds, and when that comes, I'll explain why. So, but, yeah, then after that, we've got 2 more books to cover. But
which those 2 I have not read. Sable
And
Queen
also-
and Rogue Crew.
Also,
And-
Martin the Warrior. We haven't done the.
which is about, yep,
Mm.
that was my original plan for Martin the Warrior, season 3 of the cartoon, the PBS one anyway, is going to be after Doom White. But depending on how our calendar shakes out, who knows? We'll see if Castaways comes first or that.
Sounds good.
Be surprised.
Ha.
All right.
Yep. So then,
So, Jeremy?
online, you can find us at, because you can't find us offline, unless you just save all our podcasts to your hard drive, in which case, then yes, you can definitely listen to us offline.
Excuse the
I do
thumping
that.
tail in the background.
Huh?
I said, excuse the thumping tail in the background.
It's all right.
You don't have to apologize. After like what 2 episodes in a row where you could hear me putting down like a glass every 5 seconds, yeah. Which I think I finally fixed that, so I do apologize again for doing that. You could find us online at quarteronthewall.com. We are on multiple podcast services, Google Play, iTunes, and that, and Spotify. We're also on like any service that just like compiles podcasts and stuff. We pop up on those. Just be forewarned, if you don't see like the latest episode on there, check the site or check one of the services that we actively upload to. So just a heads up on that. You can also find us. We are featured in the official Redwall forums. We have our Eulalia subreddit. And we also have a Twitter account at ROTWpod, where you can reach out to us. And by us, I mean everyone but me, because I don't know how to use Twitter. And we also have an email address, rotwpod@gmail.com.
Okay, very good. So, Jeremy and Matthias, I think they need you in the kitchens.
See ya!
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Come back here, you coward!
So I'm your Ebbet Pete.
You'll never take me alive!
He's Jeremy.
I'm Matthias.
I'm Katie.
And we'll see you next episode.
Bye.